Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Rob's video blog. Today I want to touch on something very important to all people, and that is priorities and economics. I know, super exciting, but I'll try and be as brief as possible. Where am I going with all this? Well, when I say economics, I mean, so what is economics? Economics is, all right, let's not define economics. That's not really the point. What I mean by economics is whenever you decide to do something or decide to buy something, right, it's an exchange. If I want to buy a pen, I have to exchange a certain amount of money for that pen. And presumably, I'd rather have the pen than the money, and that's why I make the exchange. Same thing for services. You pay to go to a play because presumably the experience of the play is worth more to you than the dollars in your pocket. So that's the basic economic exchange that goes on in a somewhat free market. What we have to realize is when we make a choice to do something, whether we make a choice to go to a play, for example, not only are we choosing to exchange our dollars for the experience of going to a play, but we are necessarily foregoing all the other possible activities that we could be doing at that time. So if a play takes me 2 hours, if I go to a play and I spend 2 hours at a play and I enjoy myself and everything is fantastic, the reality of the situation is that those 2 hours are gone, and those are 2 hours that I could have been to the gym, they're 2 hours that I could have been watching TV, they're 2 hours that I could have been playing with my daughter or going shopping or doing whatever. The point is, when you decide to do something, you are foregoing all the other activities that you're doing at that time. So that's a cost that you have to consider. Same thing when you buy something. If I have $5 and it costs me $5 to buy a really nice pen, and I get that really nice pen, I have that pen in part because I paid $5, but I've also got that pen in part because I've decided all the other things that I could buy for $5 are not as important to me as this pen, or I don't want it as much as this pen. So I've foregone purchasing all the other things I could buy for $5 to buy that pen. Now, this might seem obvious, but you'd be shocked at how many people don't apply this principle to their lives, or they don't recognize it, or they refuse to recognize it. One of my previous podcasts, I talked about how our life is, our days are numbered. Literally put a calendar on the wall with the number of weeks left in your life, and it gives you perspective real quick. People don't realize that when they do things, when they spend a significant amount of time doing something, that they're foregoing all these other activities, and they try to fool themselves into thinking that they can do it all. That if I do X, that doesn't mean that I have less time to do Y. Look, here's a perfect example, right? Before my daughter was born, I went to the gym almost every day. I was in I was in aesthetically phenomenal shape. Doing my best to go to the gym now, but 3 times a week, maybe 4 times a week on a good week, simply because I have a daughter now, and I have not only different priorities. I would rather spend time with my daughter than exercise. But even on the days when I want to exercise, I simply sometimes just don't have the time because I come home from work and my daughter's there, and I would rather play with my daughter than go to the gym. So I can't fool myself into thinking, well, I'm going to be able to work out the exact same amount that I was able to work out before I had a kid than when I have a kid now. Now, I might be able to work out the same amount, but then I would have to give up something else. There's only so many hours that you can be awake in a day. And if you're doing one thing, that means you're not doing another. Another example, a better example of that would be, and a more significant example that I think people don't recognize, and I think it's caused a lot of problems, is, and it's a very difficult decision for women, is to have children. My wife got her, master's in education, and she was an experienced teacher, and we decided to have kids. She decided to have a child, and she had our daughter, and she's been staying home with her, and it's fantastic, and I'm so happy for her, and she loves it, and I couldn't be happier about it. And at the end of the day, I told her, I said, I would prefer that she's home with our daughter, but at the end of the day, not going to force her to do that. If she wants to go back to work before our daughter's in school, of course, I'm not going to stop her. I'll be 100% supportive. But that's something that I think it's a very, very difficult decision that women do have to make, especially because of the timing of biology. The optimum baby making years are, late teenage years to your early 30s. And then once you get into your mid to late 30s, the fertility starts to decline, complications start to increase, that sort of thing. So women have to make a very, very serious decision relatively early on in their lives, how they want to plan out their career if they want to work. You go to college from when you're 18 to 22, typically, sometimes longer. If you go for a master's, maybe 23, maybe it takes you an extra year to complete the 4-year degree, so now it's 24. Then it takes you a couple of years to find a husband, settle down, get married. Before you know it, you're in your late 20s, early 30s, and you just got married. And typically, you've been in the workforce now for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, and you're becoming a very valuable employee. You're gaining a significant amount of skills, you're gaining a significant amount of experience. And now you're faced with, well, do I have kids? And if you're going to have kids, if you want to maintain that continuity in your career, you got to have your kid, and then, pay somebody to watch your kid, or you have to make some kind of pretty elaborate arrangement between you and your husband, and maybe family members, and maybe a babysitter just to watch the kid while you go back to work and continue on with your career. Otherwise, you have to take a pause. You have your kid, stay home with them for a couple of years till they're, maybe 4 or 5, and they go to preschool, they go to kindergarten, whatever it is. And then you can go back to, resume your career. But that's only one kid. What if you want 2 kids or 3 kids? You're talking about a significant period of time that women would be taken out of the workforce for that. And I just think a lot of people just take it for granted and say, oh, I could just have a kid and work at the same time. Well, that's a lot easier said than done. Just remember, every minute that you spend at work is a minute that you're not spending with your child, and every minute that you spend with your child is a minute you're not spending at work. And I'm not passing judgment on anybody. If they want to work or if they want to stay home with their kids, that's their decision. I have my own thoughts and opinions on it that I could, maybe express another time. But I think people people go into that situation and they don't go into it with their eyes open. They don't really think, hey, well, if I'm doing this, I cannot do that. And I think it creates a lot of confusion for people. People become upset. People get bent out of shape about those sorts of things. And it's just something that we have to keep in mind. I try and keep that in mind every day. In fact, I can be thrifty at times. I also like to spend money, but I can also be very thrifty. And one of the things that I've realized is I have to do a cost-benefit analysis or a time cost-benefit analysis. In that, if I do this, instead of buying this, I can build it or make it myself or drive over here and get it for X dollars cheaper. Well, how long is it going to take me to do that? Because if I'm doing that, I can't be doing something else. So it's not just am I saving the money, but it's also, what am I foregoing in my time that I won't be doing because I'm trying to save $15 or $20, whatever the case is. And back in the day, I never used to do that. I used to go nuts to save a nickel here and there, and then it would be Sunday night, and I'm like, Jesus, I didn't do anything all weekend because I spent time trying to build this stupid thing to save a couple nickels, and it's just completely insane. Like I said, when you put that chart up on the wall and you realize how numbered your days are, you'll pay a couple extra bucks just to have the spare time to do what it is that you really want to do. So, I have in recent years that has really been a positive for me. I've really been able to step back and say, what's the time effect of this here? What am I foregoing if I do this? So something just important to keep in mind, something to consider. Just remember, anything that you buy, anything that you do, you are foregoing all the other possibilities when you do it. So hope that's helpful. Don't paralyze yourself in decision making because of it, especially not trivial decision making, but just something to keep in the back of your mind when making big decisions. Just remember, if you're doing one thing, you can't be doing everything else. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again next time.